12 items that disappear from stores in the first 6 hours when the power system collapses. The problem is not whether they disappear, but whether you realize it before it is too late. In the first hours, everything still looks normal. You still have food, water, and think you have time. But in reality, things start changing faster than you expect. Not loud, not chaotic, but quietly disappearing from shelves before you even think about them. And by the time you realize you need something, it is usually already gone. Not because you are slow, but because everything happens faster than you can react. If you think you already have enough, wait until item number 7. That is when people begin to realize they have missed something very basic. 12. Fuel, mini gas, butane, propane. The thing that keeps your food from becoming useless. It is not that you lack food, it is that you cannot cook it. In the first hours when power goes out, many people feel secure looking at their supplies. Noodles, canned food, enough to last for days. But when the first meal comes without electricity, they realize something very simple. The stove does not work, the microwave is useless, and almost everything they prepared cannot be used the way they are used to. This is not shortage, but the neutralization of things that seemed ready. You may have plenty of food, but without a way to heat it, without a way to boil water, most of what you prepared becomes inconvenient, even unusable over time. And this is the mistake many people make. They prepare what to eat, but forget what is needed to cook. There was a comment that stood out. I have plenty of food, but no way to heat it. It sounds simple, but that is the reality many people only realize after the first few hours. When you have to eat cold food continuously, when you cannot boil water, cannot make anything warm, you start to see the difference between having food and having a real meal. The true value of fuel is not in itself, but in the way it unlocks everything you have already prepared. A small gas canister can help you boil water, cook food, create heat. Things that seem basic but become extremely important when electricity is gone. It is not the most noticeable item, but it is what keeps your entire system functioning. You do not need a lot, but you need to have it ready and know how to use it before you actually need it. A simple portable gas stove, along with a few backup fuel canisters, can make a huge difference compared to relying entirely on electricity. If possible, test it beforehand to make sure everything works as expected. Because in a crisis, you do not want to learn how to use something new. You want something already ready. You may have enough food for many days, but are you sure you have a way to use it? And that is when you begin to understand why the next item, something that may seem unfamiliar, plays a bigger role than you think. 11. Radio. The thing that keeps you connected when everything else disappears. You need to remember something very simple that few people think about. When power goes out, the internet disappears and phone signals start to weaken. The first thing you lose is not light, it is information. And when you lose information, you are not just interrupted, you lose direction. That is why radios are always among the fastest disappearing items. Not because everyone thinks of them immediately, but because those who have experienced crises understand very clearly how frightening it is to not know what is happening. In reality, phones do not die immediately. They continue to work for a while thanks to backup power from network providers. But then, one by one, cell towers begin to shut down. Internet slows, calls drop repeatedly, and eventually there is complete silence. At that point, those who rely entirely on smartphones fall into an information blackout. They do not know which areas are dangerous, do not know if any warnings have been issued, and do not know whether to stay or leave. And when people lack information, they start guessing. and guessing in a crisis often leads to bad decisions. That is when a small radio becomes extremely valuable. No Wi-Fi needed, no strong signal required, just batteries or a few turns of a hand crank, and you can receive news, emergency instructions, and important updates from outside. People with radios are not smarter than others, but they have a major advantage. They know what is happening. And that alone helps them stay calmer, think more clearly, and avoid being swept up in panic. Radios disappear quickly, not because they are rare, but because people realize their value too late. When phones stop working, when the internet is gone, when everything around becomes silent, that is when they start looking for anything that can reconnect them to the outside world. But like water, like batteries, by then, the shelves are already empty. The solution is actually simple. You do not need complex or expensive equipment. Just a small radio, battery-powered or hand crank, placed somewhere you can access immediately. What you are preparing is not just an item, it is the ability to make the right decisions when everything becomes unclear. So if a blackout happens tonight, will you know what is happening out there? Or will you sit in silence and guess? And that is also when you begin to understand why the next item, something that seems very ordinary, can make such a big difference. 10. Heavy-duty trash bags, the item that disappears quietly before the crowd even notices. The things people pay the least attention to are sometimes the ones that save you at the right moment. In the first hours after a power system collapse, most people rush toward food, water, and batteries. Those areas quickly become chaotic. But in another corner of the store where no one is crowding, rolls of heavy-duty trash bags quietly disappear. What matters is that stores usually do not stock large amounts of this type, and those who understand its value rarely take just one. They take entire rolls, sometimes several packs at once. It only takes a few people like that arriving early, and the shelf is empty before most customers even realize it was there. Many people only look for things that sound important like water or food, and overlook multi-purpose items. Meanwhile, a heavy-duty trash bag can do more than you think. It can become a rain cover when you need to move in bad weather, an insulating layer when you have to sit or sleep on cold ground, or a simple wind barrier if you need to create temporary shelter. Not only that, it can help collect rainwater, protect belongings from moisture, or handle sanitation when water systems stop working. One item, multiple uses, and all become extremely valuable when everything around you begins to stop functioning. That is why experienced people go straight to this section before the crowd understands what is happening. Why do heavy-duty trash bags disappear so fast? Not because they are rare, but because store supply is already limited, and those who know how to use them take more than usual. By the time the rest of the crowd realizes they need something to stay dry, stay warm, or protect their belongings, the shelf has long been empty. The solution is very simple. Do not wait until you need it to think about it. Prepare a few rolls of heavy-duty trash bags at home. They are cheap, easy to store, and almost never become useless. You may not use them every day, but when you do, you will realize they are far more valuable than they look. So if you had to leave your home in cold rain or needed to protect your belongings in an emergency, do you have something simple but durable enough to do that? Or will you realize you need it when it is already too late? And that is also when you begin to see why the next item, something everyone thinks they already have enough of, actually disappears faster than you expect. 9. Water filters, water treatment tools. The item that determines whether you still have water after a few days. 90% of people prepare this wrong. They think buying enough water is enough. And in the first hours when the power goes out, that is exactly what the crowd does. They rush to bottled water and take as much as possible. Meanwhile, the water filter section remains quiet, almost unnoticed, because it does not feel urgent right away. But there is always a small group that acts differently. They do not buy more water. They look for ways to avoid depending completely on bottled water. And it only takes a few of them acting early for water filters, which are already limited in stock, to start disappearing. By the time most people realize that stored water will not last forever, they come back to look and find empty shelves. The real value of a water filter only becomes clear after the power has been out for a while. At that point, tap water may weaken, become unstable, or no longer be as safe as before. You may still have water, but not necessarily water you can safely drink. And that is when the difference appears. Those with filters stay calmer, while those without start to worry. Its function sounds simple, but it is decisive, turning a normal water source into something safer to use. Whether it is leftover tap water, rainwater, or another source, a water filter gives you an option that most people do not think about in the first few hours. Its use is not as complicated as many assume. Most personal water filters only require passing water through the device or drinking directly through it. No electricity, no complex steps. But the key point is having it before you need it. Because by the time you start thinking about treating water, the shelves are usually already empty. That is why this item disappears quickly. Not because everyone rushes for it at the beginning, but because a small group who understands its value takes it first, while the crowd realizes too late. If your usual water source becomes unstable, do you have a way to continue? Or will you be the one returning to the store only to find an empty shelf? And that is also when you begin to understand why the next item, the one everyone rushes for immediately, disappears faster than anything else. 8. Lighters and matches. The item that disappears the moment people realize they cannot create fire. The more common something is, the faster it gets wiped out. In the first hours after a power outage, almost everyone assumes they already have a lighter somewhere at home, or that they do not need it yet. That mindset keeps the lighter and match section quiet at first. No crowding, no urgency. But that calm does not last long. Someone once shared that during a prolonged outage, they were not worried about food or water on the first day. Everything seemed under control. But when night came, when they wanted to heat food, to boil water, they realized something very simple. They had no way to create fire. The next morning they returned to the store, and what they found was not chaos, but an empty shelf. No lighters, no matches, just empty space where they used to be. Many people believe they can improvise and create fire manually if needed, using stones or survival techniques. But in reality, those methods require skill, time, and proper conditions. In a stressful situation, that is not something you want to try for the first time, especially when all you need is a flame immediately. Lighters and matches are not just for starting a stove. They are what allow you to maintain the most basic activities: cooking, boiling water, creating heat. When electricity is gone, these simple things become the foundation for keeping daily life going. And because they are so familiar and easy to use, many people become careless, assuming they can always get them later. But in reality, it is the opposite. The simplest items are often the fastest to disappear because everyone thinks they can buy them later. And when they actually need them, they come back, and the shelf is empty. 7. Batteries, backup power. The thing that keeps your devices from becoming useless. The biggest weakness is not shortage, but shared thinking. When electricity is available, you almost never think about batteries. But when the power goes out, you realize many things around you are still there. They just do not work. Flashlights, radios, clocks, remotes, all depend on a small source of energy you previously ignored. What is interesting is that this is one of the cheapest items on the list. A pack of AA or AAA batteries usually costs only a few dollars, and power banks are not expensive either. But precisely because they are cheap and easy to buy, many people do not take preparation seriously. They buy devices but forget the batteries. Or they have batteries but never check them, only to find out when needed that they are dead or unusable. It may seem small, but this is where things start to go off track. A flashlight with 2 batteries will not get you through several days without power. A radio without backup batteries is just an object sitting there. The problem is not whether you have the device, but whether you can keep it working. No skill needed, no waiting time. Just insert, and it works. In a situation where everything becomes complicated, this simplicity becomes the biggest advantage. It helps you maintain light, information, and a sense of control. Do not just buy enough to use. Buy based on the devices you have. Each device should have at least one dedicated backup set of batteries, and even better, combine rechargeable batteries with a backup charging source like a power bank or small solar panel. And most importantly, check them periodically, because batteries left unused for too long can fail. A few dollars for batteries, but when needed, they can determine whether you have light or not. How many devices do you have that need batteries, and have you prepared enough for them? And that is when you begin to see why the next item is more important than you think. 6. Flashlights and headlamps. The thing that determines what you can see when everything goes dark. Losing power is not the biggest problem. It is the moment you realize you cannot see anything. When light disappears, everything familiar in your home suddenly becomes unfamiliar. Dark corners, obstacles, even simple tasks like finding things or moving around become harder than you expect. Many people think one flashlight is enough, and that is the common mistake. They have the light, but do not think about using it for extended periods. Do not think about needing to work while using it. One hand holding a light, one hand working. It sounds simple. But when you need to clean, cook, or search for something in the dark, you quickly realize how inconvenient it is. That is when a headlamp becomes a smarter choice. Not because it is more powerful, but because it frees your hands. Wherever you look, the light follows. This may sound small, but in a power outage, it creates a very big difference between being passive and being proactive. One comment I once read was very striking. I thought I was prepared until I had to hold a flashlight in my mouth to fix something. It sounds a bit funny, but it is very real. That is the kind of situation you do not think about until you are in it. The strength of a flashlight and a headlamp is not just in the light, but in their ability to help you keep doing normal things in abnormal situations. You can still move safely, still handle tasks, still maintain your routine instead of coming to a complete halt. The preparation tip here is very clear. Do not rely on just one light source. At minimum, you should have one flashlight and one headlamp, each with its own power source. If possible, choose energy-efficient types or ones with multiple brightness levels to extend usage time. And more importantly, place them somewhere you can grab immediately in the dark. Not somewhere you have to search for when you can no longer see anything. You can try something very simple. Turn off all the lights in your house at night and try to move around as usual. You will quickly realize how much you depend on light. And when you see that, you will also understand why the next item, something you use every day without thinking, becomes more important than ever. 5. Wet wipes and sanitizer. The thing that makes you realize you cannot stay as clean as before. What makes things worse is not the lack of food, but when you start to feel that your body is no longer clean. In the first hours of a power outage, almost no one thinks about wet wipes or sanitizer. People focus on bigger things like water, food, batteries. But after a very short time, another feeling begins to appear. Your hands get greasy after eating. Your skin collects dust after cleaning, and you no longer have a way to clean yourself as usual. There was a comment that caught attention. I did not think I needed it until I had no way to wash my hands. It sounds very simple, but that is the moment many people begin to realize the problem. It is not that you immediately run out of water, but that you cannot use water the way you are used to. And when that happens, the discomfort does not come all at once. It builds up gradually, making you feel exhausted faster than you expect. The biggest mistake is treating hygiene as something that can wait. But in reality, it is the opposite. When you eat, handle dirty items, or simply touch surfaces that are no longer as clean as before, not being able to clean your hands and body will lead to other problems. Not just discomfort, but also the risk of infection and your body weakening faster in an unstable environment. The value of wet wipes and sanitizer is not in convenience, but in helping you maintain stability. One wipe of your hands before eating, a quick clean after handling chores, or simply wiping your face and neck. Those small actions create a big difference in how you feel and handle the situation. Choose unscented wet wipes that are easy to carry and enough to use for a few days. Do not rely on a single pack. A few small packs placed in different locations will be much more useful than one large pack kept in one place. And if possible, combine them with sanitizer to use when you need something quick and more efficient. You can go hungry for a while, but the feeling of not being able to stay clean will drain you faster than you think. So ask yourself, if you cannot wash your hands as usual, do you have an alternative? And that is when you start to see why the next item is more important than you think. 4. Bottled water. The thing everyone thinks about, but misunderstands the most. The issue is not whether you store it or not, but what you store. When a power outage happens, bottled water is almost the first thing that comes to mind. It is obvious, easy to understand, and gives an immediate sense of safety. You see cases of water stacked in your home and think you are fine. But what is worth noting is that this very obviousness is what causes many people to prepare incorrectly. Someone once shared that they bought a lot of water on the first day and felt completely at ease. But after a short time, they began to realize they were using water based on old habits. Drinking, washing, cleaning, without control. And the consumption rate was much faster than they expected. Water does not disappear immediately, but it runs out in a way you do not notice. It is not that there is no water, but that you do not understand how much you need and how to use it. Many people store enough for a few days, but use it as if the supply were unlimited. In reality, when the water system is no longer stable, each bottle of water becomes far more valuable than under normal conditions. The value of bottled water lies in its convenience and immediate safety. You do not need to treat it, do not need to think, just open it and use it. That is a major advantage in the first hours when everything is still chaotic. But its weakness is also very clear. It has limits. Unlike things that can be reused, bottled water only decreases over time. And once it is gone, you cannot create more without another solution. The tip here is very simple but important. Do not just store, manage it. Divide the water by day, by person, and control how it is used from the beginning. A very practical approach is to always reserve a portion strictly for drinking, not for other purposes. And if possible, Combine it with an alternative option instead of relying entirely on bottled water. You think you have enough water, but are you sure you are using it correctly? And that is when you begin to understand why the next item, the one that does not create an immediate sense of safety, is more important than you think. 3. Easy to prepare food, instant noodles, canned food snacks. The thing everyone thinks they have prepared enough, but quickly feels lacking. If you had to eat the same type of food for 3 consecutive days, are you sure you would still be fine? When a power outage happens, instant noodles, canned food, snacks are almost the first choice for most people. They are convenient, easy to eat, require little preparation, and create the feeling that you are ready for the next few days. But that very convenience hides a problem that many people do not immediately realize. There is a fairly common story. During a prolonged power outage, a family prepared a lot of instant noodles and canned food. The first day went by quite smoothly. Everyone still ate normally. On the second day, they began to feel bored. Not because they lacked food, but because everything was the same. By the third day, they almost did not want to eat anymore, even though food was still available. It was not that their bodies did not need it, but that they no longer had the desire to eat. What trips many people up is not the crisis itself, but how they prepare for it. They focus on having enough and forget that the body and mind do not work that way. When you only eat dry, salty, or repetitive foods, you not only lose your appetite, but also become more fatigued and lack energy in ways you do not expect. The value of these foods lies in their convenience and immediate usability. You do not need many tools, do not need complicated preparation. But that strength also comes with a weakness. They are not a long-term solution without variety and balance. The preparation tip here is very practical. Do not just buy more, buy a variety. Combine savory, sweet, ready-to-eat items and simple-to-prepare foods. Add a few easier-to-eat options like crackers, canned fruit, or foods that create a sense of variety. And if possible, try eating that way on a normal day. You will know how long you can actually handle it. You may have plenty of food, but are you sure you can eat it for many days in a row? And that is when you begin to understand why the next item, the one not everyone thinks of first, becomes more important than you think. 2. Electrolyte drinks, Gatorade, Pedialyte. The thing your body needs before you realize it. You think just drinking water is enough. But why do you feel more tired the more you drink? When the power first goes out, people usually do one thing: find water and drink more than usual. That is not wrong, but it is not enough. Because your body is not just losing water, it is losing what helps retain it. That feeling does not come immediately. It creeps in slowly. You start to feel heavier, slightly dizzy, unable to concentrate. You drink more water, but do not feel better. Sometimes you even feel like your energy is dropping faster. That is not just dehydration, but your body falling out of balance. Someone once went through exactly that situation during a hot season power outage. They drank a lot of water, but the more they drank, the weaker they felt. It was only when they had a bottle of electrolyte drink that things began to change. Not because it was magical, but because for the first time, their body received what it actually needed. This does not make you full, does not quench your thirst immediately in the usual way, but it helps your body retain what you have consumed. It brings you back to a stable state faster instead of letting you gradually slip without understanding why. Many people overlook it because they think it is only for athletes or special situations. But when you are in a hot environment, when you move more than usual, when your body starts losing fluids in ways you cannot control, at that point it is no longer optional. You do not need a lot. but you need to have it. A few bottles for the initial period can make a clear difference, especially when you start to feel unwell without understanding the reason. You can drink a lot of water, but if your body cannot retain it, how much do you really have? And that is when you begin to see why the next item, the one directly related to your body, cannot be overlooked. 1. First aid kit and basic medicine. The thing that keeps small problems from becoming big problems. Low light, difficult movement, stress. All combined make you more likely to encounter situations that you would normally handle very simply. The issue is not whether you will have an accident, but whether when it happens, you already have a way to handle it. A small cut, a headache, a scratch. These are minor in everyday life. But when you cannot easily access medical care, they begin to affect how you live, work, and rest. What many people do not realize is that small problems do not disappear. They accumulate. If you do not handle them right away, they will linger. If you ignore them, they will make you uncomfortable, unfocused, and more tired. Not because they are serious, but because you are dealing with them in unfavorable conditions. The value of a first aid kit is not in treating illness, but in keeping things from getting worse. A bandage helps you keep working without interruption. A pill helps you stay more alert. A bit of antiseptic keeps you from worrying about infection. Very small things, but they help you maintain stability when you need it most. Many people prepare a lot of big items, but overlook these basics because they think they will not need them. But when you are tired, sleep-deprived, and handling many things at once, having familiar and easy-to-use items ready will save you a lot of energy. You do not need a lot, but you need the right things. Basic, easy to use, and things you clearly know how to use. Place them somewhere easy to reach, not somewhere you have to search for when you need them. Can you handle a small problem immediately without disrupting everything? And that is when you begin to see why the final item, the one almost everyone overlooks, is more important than you think. You do not have to go through a power outage to understand these things. You just need to look at how you are preparing. It is not the most expensive or most complex items that will help you, but the simple ones at the right time. The difference is not in having more than others, but in understanding what you are lacking before everything changes. These items do not disappear because they are rare, but because everyone realizes their value at the same time. And when that happens, you no longer have a choice. In the next video, I tried something very practical. I attempted to buy these 12 grocery items, but could not find them anywhere.